So we kick off Leap. It's called Leap, right?
Yes, it is.
So we kick off with Give Me the Reason. Now, so you start off here with the sort of rasp of a soul singer.
Oh man, thank you so much.
Like that really believes what they're singing.
Right.
And that's not to say that you didn't believe it before,
No, of
but
course,
it
sure.
really feels like you're very involved in this emotionally.
Very good friend of mine. We fell out, I wasn't like happy with that. Of course, we're old friends. We have a rich history together, and that lyric really made me think about that situation, because often in my most vulnerable moment, all I'm feeling is that I just need one reason to keep fighting to maybe rekindle that friendship, and I'll do it. So that's where Give Me the Reason comes from as a song.
Yeah, falling out with someone you love can crucify you.
Yeah, man. I think also there's the sort of for a lot of songwriters, there's the sort of textbook scenario of breaking up with this person and falling in love with that person and it not working out. But in a friendship, that's a real curveball, actually.
Nowhere Left to Go. I felt that the bridge was so strong in this. It felt like two choruses.
I wrote that song with two brilliant guys called Michael Pollock and Jay Cash, who are based in LA, and we got together. And this is a new thing for me. This is a new concept for me when I do co-writing sessions. If I write with new people, I find out that they're like a fan of mine, which is such a weird, because here I am coming into album 3, still feeling like I'm very much at the beginning of everything and still with so much I want to prove. And then I'm meeting and working with people who know my previous catalogue sort of sometimes inside out. Michael particularly was like, I want to go to this place for you in terms of the song that we wrote. I've never written such a sort of romantic song. It's kind of almost a bit steamy in a way, the lyrics in this song. And I've never quite sort of gone there before. And I was talking about all of that to him, and it's amazing how that galvanizes someone like Michael, and he was immediately just like, well, we got to do it then.
There's parts of that song that soar, and it's also beautifully framed with just very simple acoustic guitar, which acts like a frame for the song, which is really cool. So we are Save Your Love
Sure.
at song number 3. Yeah. Now here's a song you could busk.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. Yeah. And it really does sort of remind me in that respect of like what I would, especially with when I was busking and doing like covers, I would be choosing like really well-known Motown songs and stuff that are not those records are not an acoustic guitar and a vocal most of the time, if ever. So I would be distilling them, trying to sort of simplify them down, and that's something I'm still trying to do as a guy who like loves all kinds of guitar playing and is very sort of involved. Is very involved as a guitar player. Still, the most effective parts, riffs, songs with guitar are the simplest ones. So that was the kind of goal here, to sort of keep it simple. I can't believe I'm saying this still, but I got to work with Phineas, who's famous for his own brilliant music, but of course also he's Billie Eilish's brother. He writes and produces all her records with her. I'm having a Zoom call chat with Phineas himself, who told me the story from his perspective, and it was a really kind of cool to hear it from him. He said, listen, I don't want to sound like big-headed or anything, he said, but with my own music and my sister's music, I'm so busy and I get offered all sorts of stuff. He said, but when a song like this kind of cuts through, he said, it's sort of undeniable. And they had just sent like a voice note recording. That's all I had. I sung the song into my little phone voice note recorder, acoustic guitar and vocal, sat on my kitchen table. And he said, I loved it. He said, I've half a mind to tell you should put it out like that, which I thought was maybe almost too flattering. Like, all right, mate. All right, Phineas, thank you. But he said, let's. I was sort of about. I remember I was about to say the same thing. He said, let's try and keep it simple though, because it really does deliver itself just as a guitar and a voice, this song. So let's not try and sort of crowd it out with too much other noise.
To the untrained ear, it's very simple, but of course,
sure,
there are some lovely little touches to the production, very subtle, and which just support your song and your voice.
Thanks, man.
Number 4, Everyone Needs Someone. You love to cut to the chase with a song, don't you? You're not big on intros, right?
Right. Yeah, this has been a thing on this album. I think I'm in a moment in the making of this album. I've found myself in a moment where I do like to cut to the chase. And I think there's a great story Bill Withers talks about. I can't remember the full context of it all, but he was one to want to do that. He often, I mean, Ain't No Sunshine and Lean on Me, the first thing you hear are those words in each song. Oh wait, tell a lie. Lean on Me might be different. But Ain't No Sunshine is a perfect example. Maybe Grandma's Hands is the same. But anyway, sometimes it's fun to cut to the chase, definitely. I think we've just been playing Everybody Needs Someone on tour in the last couple of months this year. And I've just built a little intro into it. Because for a live atmosphere, given the album's not out yet and the song isn't out yet, I feel like it's a little too much to ask.
Yeah.
To say, here's a new song, first lyric, straight away. So I'm playing a little sort of couple of bars of guitar, but the song so immediately like lends itself to being this joyous, sort of euphoric little anthem in a way. And I wrote this song from a very sort of lost and lonely place, to be honest. I wrote All I Want Is Someone When the Night Is Long, half a lonely soul to make me whole because everybody needs someone. Because I wanted to try and, I think as songwriters do, and as I do as a songwriter, to sort of half the pain, the problem, the struggle of an emotion, you share it. And that's what I do. And I wrapped it in all sorts of, sort of lyrical, artistic license and metaphors, and that's what songwriting is to me sometimes. And to a lot of people, but really it's just a song. It feels almost, in a way, when I think back, like it was a tiny little cry for help. Like, I don't really know who I am at this point, everybody. Don't you agree that everybody needs someone when they feel alone? That's how I felt. But I wrote it as this song that's full of sort of reminiscing the opening verse about the special moments you sort of share. I remember, we're staying up, we're going to watch the sun come out. Everyone's here, there's silver slipping through the clouds. And I remember that I was feeling so uncertain of who I was that I wrote those lines just directly remembering a house party I was at when I was about 16, where everybody stayed up through the night. It was summer, and then we were all out on the grass at like 5 a.m. still drinking, watching the sun come up. Sort of half watching the sun come up, half thinking about who's snogging who. I went straight to that place because I knew who I was back then, or at least I thought I did. I just went to a sort of safe moment in time. And it's funny why you write certain things in certain songs. Sometimes it's not perfectly clear. But I remember that song poured out in quite a fluid way for me. And it did, I guess, in hindsight, what I really actually wanted it to do is it came with a warmth and made me feel actually a little better, having started writing it from a place of lost and sort of loneliness.
Catharsis, man.
Yeah.
So One Life.
Oh.
I put a big circle around this because for what it's worth, we've come to my favourite on the record. I think this is an astonishing record.
Thank you.
And the thing that slapped me in the face straight away was you've got to be was your vocal control. That scale that you do.
It's difficult.
That's a brave thing.
Studio, the writing environment is kind of very different to the live environment, whether we like it or not, and it's hard to. It's easy to sort of go for that kind of thing when you're writing and recording, and everybody in the room's like, wow, yeah, that's great, yeah, do it again, do it in every chorus, and you're like, yeah, am I doing really, really well? Like,
we can auto-tune you.
all of that, man, all of that, and I think my ego, like anybody's, like it sort of gets a bit high on that stuff, and then it's only when I'm stepping on stage for the first show since I've written that song thinking, right, got to sing that now, and I've got to sing it. The first time I've got to nail it, and then I've got to nail it like 6 more times in the song. Okay, great, sweet. It's actually like one of the most important songs that I feel I've ever written for me. It's something about it is so full of sort of fuzzy warmth and love, and it glows, and that is not typically what I'm attracted to as a writer. But I really sort of dipped my toe in new territory and pushed my own boundaries writing One Life. In the second verse it says, sometimes I get sad, at the front, at the back, in the middle of the happiest moments, because good things can turn bad easily. That's a very real view for me of like the everyday, even within a lovely, wonderful relationship. And for me, I've been in a relationship with the same person for 15 years. We were kids when we met. And it's the most glorious thing. And people say, wow, that's a long time. How do you keep that together? When I think about it, we come up against all sorts of obstacles. We have the most incredible times together. We've been on the most amazing journey so far, me and Lucy. But we are sort of honest about when things are difficult, as much as we're honest about when things are feeling so wonderful and amazing. And that's why that line is in that second verse. That's why the second verse starts like that. I think I'd gone the first verse. All I want to be is with you in your arms in our room, living small in a big house. It's all idyllic, lovely, dreamy setting. And then the chorus, I've only got one life and I want you in it. Again, dreamy and sort of joyous. And I had to bring it back down to earth. And that's why I was able to finish One Life and send it to people and say, I've written this song and I think it's decent. Because it was grounded in some kind of honesty, some kind of vulnerability.
Silent Love. At last we have an intro, James.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yes. Oh. And a lovely build too.
Thanks.
Not many places to hide in this song.
No. I'm quite proud to say this is like the demo. We sort of spruced it a little and put some polish on it in places that it maybe needed it. But to be honest, more than ever, sometimes demos work.
Yeah.
And I did try this in a different studio, and it really worked. It sounded great in the different setting that we put it in, and in the sort of 11th hour, I sort of listened to that and the original, this version that we recorded in the same moment that it was written, and it just won. I'm really proud and pleased that I went with my gut on this.
Track 7, Love Don't Hate Me.
Right.
Sounds like your bass player's having a lot of fun with this.
It's a fun little kind of call to arms, this. I feel like it's written off the back of an argument. In that moment when either both of you or you in the argument say things that you know are a little too much, a little too hot, and as soon as it's done and doors are slammed and people have walked away, you realise you don't mean any of it really, and you think to that person that you love, don't hate me. It's fun for me how the lyrics feel a little bit jumbled, because that was how they fit the sort of architecture of the melody and sort of the songwriting. But they do say something quite direct, in my opinion. I look forward to this live. I really want my fans to hear it on the record first. Because even like there's this, I think about the Rolling Stones as well, who are such an enormous influence on me. It opens with the woo, and there's like a call and response. I did one sort of quieter on the other side. And that is literally me telling my fans through a song, through a production, here's what I'm going to do and here's what I want you to do. Because we'll have a great time at the show if it comes off.
So, brilliant still. Wow. So you're really squaring up to self-esteem here. This feels very powerful.
I can write a song like this and I can apply it to myself because I go through highs and lows. And I have done. I think this is one of the reasons I was able to write this song, is that in the last 3 years, since all of those sort of difficult moments throughout 2019 where I was feeling all sorts of anxiety and insecurity, I can go through that stuff. But I know I've been on a journey now and lived with somebody who can struggle with that kind of thing too. And there's nothing worse than when the person you love the most in the world is having a kind of, ultimately, I guess, some sort of anxiety attack, really, where they just feel worthless. I've been through it myself, and to see someone go through it and see that person go through it is no good. It doesn't feel good. And sometimes you just have to be with them, and words don't even work. And having been through that kind of thing as well, that kind of scenario, I think I wrote this song because these are a lot of things I want to say when, in all those moments when, like I say, even words aren't the way to go. When it all gets too heavy and there's just nothing you can say, and you just have to be with that person while they're going through it. I recognise in that moment that it's a sort of inescapable feeling for whoever's going through it. It's an inescapable feeling of sort of worthlessness. And in that moment, my reaction is to say, well, I think you're incredible. I think you're brilliant. And I always have, and I always will. So that's where Brilliant Still came from. I like the way that the words sort of sit. Brilliant comes first, still comes second. I like the sort of dynamics of that. Yeah.
Track 9 we're at now. We're in the home straight. Right now, so this finds you largely in falsetto.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, strings. We have strings for the first time.
Yeah.
Now I thought, okay, he's pressing all our emotional buttons here. But what's impressive is that you've got to track 9 eliciting a lot of emotion with no strings, because of course strings is a very easy way to elicit emotions.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think in the week before writing this song, a week or two, I was in Dallas, Texas. I had been invited. This was a bit of a dream come true for me. I'd been invited by Eric Clapton to play at the Clapton Crossroads Festival, which is a charity event for the rehab centre that he has in Antigua, the Crossroads Centre. He's a hero of mine. And I kind of grew up following this festival because he's been doing it for just over 20 years, and they put them out, they record the festivals, put them out as like a DVD. I remember I was 13 or something when I watched the first one. I followed them ever since, so when I got the call to do that, wow, my mind exploded. I went, and I think the first time that he came on stage, because he does lots of different sets throughout the weekend, he did a little sat-down acoustic thing, and he played various sort of famous acoustic renditions and songs of his. And on this occasion, he did Wonderful Tonight. And it's such an Eric Clapton classic. It's a real sort of timeless ballad. And then the rest of the weekend was just like rock. It was just like loads of like great electric guitar stuff, and we were all blown away. And my guitar player, Andy, he said after that weekend, and we'd obviously just had the greatest time ever as guitar fans, he said, "Are you off now to do writing in LA?" I was going to LA to do some writing. I said, "Yeah, man." And we were just sort of buzzing a bit. He was like, "You're going to write Wonderful Tonight, yeah? You're going to write your Wonderful Tonight?" And I thought, yeah, I suppose I'll have a go. Musically, Wonderful Tonight, like I say, was essentially a big reference. But I think a lot when I listen back to this and how we made this record about like sort of Marvin Gaye ballads and stuff like that, they're so sort of clean and kind of classy, and like there might be strings, but if not, there's just a sort of a really sort of neat little beat and a very sort of earnest sort of smooth vocal. And I'm not afraid to say that I was going for all of those things on this. For all of the rock and roll fan that I am, I think I always want to sort of contrast it with sounds like this one. And I think, as you now know very well, I can talk a lot. And I think this is a great example, this song, of me kind of trying to pare back the dialogue. And even in the lyric, recognise that, there's all sorts of ways that I could work out how to sort of tell you that you're everything to me in the set. And the other, when should I? Right now, just like this. That's when I should do it. That's how I should do it. I should just be more direct.
We Used to Shine, track 10.
Yeah.
This stands out. It feels different melodically in the verse, cool. I thought.
Yeah.
The chorus, like, again, it sounds very, very very classic you. Sure. But there was something about it that really popped in the verse.
I'm glad you felt that. For a very simple reason, is that I'm glad you think that, because there's a degree to which I think I want people to be able to say, "Oh, that sounds like you." But as you may have sort of cottoned onto, I'm trying to sort of left foot people sometimes. It keeps everything sort of fresh. I remember I started writing the verse on a piano, which is a sort of environment where you can pick out very clearly notes that you wouldn't necessarily sort of choose, and you can change chords, because I'm very used to playing the guitar, so things can get a little bit like, I've done that before, and here's a different version of something I've done before. And where you think the verse is quite sort of intriguing and a bit different, I can agree with that. And I think I got on that path by starting it on a piano, and right. I'm a bit slow on the piano.
Out of your comfort zone.
Out of my comfort
which
zone.
Is creatively a great place to be.
Yes, indeed.
Penultimate now, Endless Summer Nights.
Yeah.
Endless Summer Nights, with a title like that, you've got to have an intro, right? And so, we've got a scene setter. Yeah. Is this LA rubbing off on you?
What is this rubbing off on me? I feel like it's like some quite concentrated American rock music in a way. Like, well, actually, I say that. One of the first bands that came to mind was The Police. As far as like amazing. References, which American drummer, but Geordie lead singer.
Yeah.
That's something that came to mind. That kind of late 70s, early 80s. I don't know if it's not like prog, but it's like alternative kind of rock back then. Had such a great sort of sound to it. This song, In the Summer Nights, it has an intimacy, but it has this roar to it. It fades in as well. When we talk about intros,
yeah,
I think Dave Cobb was like, "What about a fade in?" I was like,
"Whoa,
are you sure, Dave?" He was like, "Because you're asking me, I'm dead certain." It's a little bit related to Everybody Needs Someone in terms of the scene that it sets. I remember the first festivals I went to, this song seems to be a little bit of a poem to those times. It opens in 24 hours in the back of the car. We'll be falling apart. So we're going all in 700% before it gets dark. And it's just, it takes me to this place where you're like, you've been at like a festival all weekend, boiling hot, pouring rain, tent. It makes me think of that like last night at a festival for that final headliner, and you're kind of stinking. But nothing matters anymore. And you just don't want it to end.
Yeah.
You do, but you don't.
Yeah.
And the sun's going down, and like that's the whole thing. Endless summer nights. Give me. Stay up with me forever. Throw your arms around the night. All we are is now or never. It's like it's very emotional again, like so many things. Like so many of the songs that I write in so many different ways. It's like emotion first. Like the words almost sort of run away with themselves just as they're trying to get the emotions across, and I can sort of vividly see it all, and that plays into how I deliver it in the studio and how I deliver it live. And it's just this tidal wave of feels.
Yeah, man. So we got to the end now.
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah.
We are all works in progress, right?
Yes. That's a great line. Oh, that's a wonderful little... That's really... You've sort of summed it up. It's about me. It's about my relationship with Lucy. And it sums up so much of what went into writing this whole album. We're all works in progress. I still don't necessarily know who I am. I still get very lost. I talk a lot when I'm talking about this album about how 2019 felt like internally a really difficult year emotionally. And as I tell people, and I've been telling people for a few weeks now in the sort of build up to this album coming out, as I tell people, I almost say it all with enthusiasm, like I'm absolutely fine now. I'm all right. And I'll dip back in. I know it'll come, and I'll slip again, and I'll feel low for some time, because everybody goes through it like that, and I certainly do as well. And I've got this person at home called Lucy who, whether she knows or doesn't, like how she does it, she lifts me out of that sadness. I think just by existing sometimes. And that's what Better is about. It felt really great to leave the album on this point and on this note, because it's as uplifting and joyous as I want this album to be to people, as I think it is. And also, it relates importantly to the album title, Leap. The loneliness that I reference and any sense of loss that I reference in Better is remedied by Lucy. But it sort of also nods in its own way to how sometimes you just have to sit it out. You have to wait, you have to be patient, or you have to just trust that things are going to be okay, that there's a tomorrow. Before I get too cheesy, before I get too sort of like I'm, a bit Hollywood about this, I do also believe in that. The idea that you just have to try and stay in the game. Get up tomorrow. If you've got to go to bed early some nights, so be it. If you've got to call it a day halfway through a day, oh well. It's all right. Try again tomorrow. Leap of faith, all of that.
You are wise beyond your years, James Bay. That's very inspiring, incredibly romantic, and provides us with a ... because, of course, you are still on your journey. And I'm very glad that our journeys intersected today. Very, very, very happy.